And I can't believe it, because so it is exactly what it is. Only like blah, you know? Maybe we can fall. If you put it, maybe we can fall in love. Alright, it is exactly 15:29 here in the studio YGFM, and you're joined in with, of course, the main man Tawanda Wade. Merry Christmas, everybody. Exciting stuff. We're coming to the end of the year, and as per routine, you have to sit down and start getting your goals into shape. Wait until you realize that 2022 is pronounced 2022. 2020 was not so exciting for everybody, apparently. Introduced us to the COVID-19, the real change, in our time and in our era, and that is exactly what it has come to. But no jokes, of course, it could be just that year that personally you get to go on forward. 27th of December 2021, the price of gas has gone up. By gas, I mean fuel low. There's a lot of chit chat about the disadvantage and how scary things are starting to look. It's been 4 months since the ruling government got into power, and there is a lot of uncertainty, and people are a little nervous. Starting to, people feel like, but where are we headed as a people? I still feel personally it's going to take a little while to see changes. And we have heard before that it gets darker before the dawn. So there is still hope, if you ask me. There is still, how can I say? There's still room for trials and, okay, of course, not at the expense of other people's lives. Considering in a few months, most likely next month, the prices of our goods and our services are going to start looking a little different, because what drives the price of gas is the international market and the dollar itself. So we're at a place right now, but we'll probably most definitely take a look at an aspect of something new, and we'll be moving on smoothly through the cruise control course. You're chilling with Tawanda Wade, the moral Jedi, 97.5, of course. It is also, partly our responsibility as personalities on TV or on radio to, educate, inform, and entertain, the community on what's really on the ground. So today we're going to be talking about something important and quite sensitive, I might add. It is the removal of the subsidy on, the gas, and that's the fuel. And electricity prices are not looking so good either. So what we're just going to do is try to shed some light on what a subsidy is. Hopefully at the end of this discussion we'll be looking at something, how can I say, something reasonable. We see people in power make decisions. The masses rather, never do adequate research. So of course there is just stone cold painful effects to bad decision making, but then there is also a careful study on our part, so that we may provide the necessary checks and balances. So what is a subsidy? A subsidy is an incentive given by the government to individuals or businesses in the form of cash, grants, or tax breaks that improve the supply of certain goods and services. With subsidies, consumers can are able to access cheaper products and commodities, So this amount of money already does exist on the gas. It's just that it is the duty of the government to provide a cushion, funding to help the day-to-day consumer, have a break. It's a great tax break. That is a great one of the definitions there. With subsidies, consumers are able to, access cheaper products and commodities. Markets that have positive externalities, which are extra benefits to society, tend to be favored in a policy to provide a greater supply of the goods and the service. We're going to come back to what externalities are. I feel like it's pretty important for us to realize that the market, because of externalities, the market is never quite a fair game at all. So we're going to get into that. Basically, subsidies are provided by the government to specific industries with the aim of keeping the prices of products and services low for people to be able to afford them, and also to encourage production and consumption. So that is a beauty there. The types of subsidies include production subsidy. All right, this type of subsidy is provided in order to encourage the production of a product. So if we want mealie meal, for example, we put a subsidy on maize so that we can encourage the production of mealie meal. In order for manufacturers to increase their production output, the government compensates for some of its parts in order to lessen their expenses while increasing the output, all for the betterment of yours truly. As a result, production and consumption grow, but the price remains the same. The drawback of such an incentive is that it may promote overproduction. So because the cost of production is lessened, you may provide more than you need, which in some cases is actually a terrible thing, especially for goods that are not for perishable goods, or goods that we do not have an outside market for, or access to an outside market. If we cannot sell these goods and then we produce them in excess and then we make a waste. So there is something there, but not entirely quite a big disadvantage. Let's keep our heads straight. There is a second type of subsidy, that is a consumption subsidy. This happens when the government offsets the cost of food, education, healthcare, and water. So they offset it because these are necessities, and the government is responsible for the well-being of every single citizen. So this is kind of like, how they just go off and say, okay, fine, reduce mealie meal, we'll pay you. This is them talking to the producer. They say, we'll pay you whatever extra, just charge the public this much. And then they do the same for education. We're seeing the idea of free education being flaunted in the air, and it's quite an overwhelming, exciting possibility actually, because education is the key to success. Well, any form of education, but basic education is necessary for everyone. So if it were free, that would be the great subsidy there for so many people. I don't know what we could do about the interests though. Not everybody is interested in school, so I suppose, but free education, that would be a ball. There is also export subsidy. One of obvious facts is that a country or a state earns from its exports, and the exports help to balance its economy. That is why to encourage exports, the government subsidizes the costs of exports so that we can sell more out and get more cash in. However, this can be easily abused, especially by exporters who exaggerate the prices of their goods so that they receive a larger incentive, eventually raising their profits at the expense of taxpayers. So that too has got some disadvantage. That is on export subsidy. If you lie about lie is strong. If you're not honest about the amount, or if you overpricing your products, you're costing the your fellow taxpayer, because you'll be given a larger incentive in order for you to facilitate for all that export, but you're not really being honest, and so a lot of people benefit from that. and take advantage of both the government and the taxpayer. So there is also employment subsidy. All right, an employment subsidy is incentive. This incentive is given by the government to companies and organizations in order to enable them to provide more job opportunities. This is beautiful because it will help you increase the number of employees. Of course, your business in itself is going to just grow, and that is just such a great plus. All for the sake of you need to realize this is all for the sake of the day-to-day person. So when we're discussing this, we should get into knowing exactly that the first things first, this is for the day-to-day person. Oh, sorry. We're talking about the increment in the gas prices, and how people have been reacting to this, and we're just trying to shed some more light on what's really happening in the world of policy making. So we just want to get a grip on what is a subsidy, what does it look like, and what is its role in our society, and at what point does living in a life without subsidies circle back to our advantage. I'm hoping there is such a place. So they are especially subsidies are applicable in the area of production cost inputs such as fuel prices, particularly when global crude oil prices are rising. So this is kind of the situation that we're in. Many countries subsidize fuel costs in order to keep prices from ballooning. The reason that's the term is because, fuel is like the basis of everything. You see, everything must move, transport. So since it is the basis, when it goes up, pretty much everything must follow too. So that is a scenario that we're facing. However, they are especially they are great for when they're being applied in this sense. That is one advantage. Then there is also secondly, preventing they're good. They prevent the long-term decline of industries. The long-term decline of industries. There are many industries that should be kept alive and functional, such as fishing, farming, because these are essential to support the population and generally human life. So the subsidy is good for that because we need people to be able to afford these things. Many new and fast-growing industries may also benefit from being subsidized because as they come up, they need the extra break in order to break even and then start to make substantial profits and moving on. The third advantage is that a greater supply of goods. It creates a greater supply of goods because it is half the price of these goods anyway are being met halfway by the taxpayer. So governments want to increase the access of their population to goods and services such as water, food, education, healthcare. They therefore provide an incentive that could be in the form of a tax credit or even straight up cash. Markets that have positive externalities are usually the ones that receive such benefits. I would like to come to externalities if we have the time going on. But it's not very important. I think what we want to get to is, we want to get through the advantages and see if there is any disadvantage of a subsidy, and then see if if there is a way that we are going to circle back as a people. If there is a way that this decision is going to circle back to our advantage, that is kind of like what we're trying to, come to. So we're going to take a very, very short break, and when we're back, we'll be talking about the disadvantages of the subsidies. Keep it 97 point. something you could imagine there is a disadvantage. So just keep your mind open and listen closely. All right. So a shortage of supply. Subsidies. The first disadvantage is a shortage of supply. Though one of the advantages of subsidies is the greater supply of goods, a shortage of supply can also occur. This is because lowered prices can lead to a sudden rise in demand that many producers may find very hard to meet. Ultimately, it can lead to a very high demand that causes an increase in prices. So naturally, the law of demand and supply will state that when there is enough supply, the price must drop. But where there is a scarcity, because these producers are failing to keep up with the demand, rather, in that instance, we are going to see a rise in prices, and then what we were trying to achieve, that would have been counterproductive. So that is the first disadvantage there. Not so conclusive, but I think I should run through it again. Though one of the advantages of a subsidy is a greater supply of goods, a shortage of supply can also occur. This is because lowered prices can lead to a sudden rise in demand that many producers may find very hard to meet. Ultimately, it can lead to very high demand that causes an increase in prices. So the second disadvantage of a subsidy is a difficulty in measuring success. Subsidies are usually effective and helpful. However, if the government were to make a report over its success in using subsidies, it would be a different story. This is because it is hard to quantify the success of a subsidy. So the fact that it is measurable is somewhat a disadvantage. There is also higher taxes. This is a third disadvantage. I think the most conclusive one. How will the government raise funds to use for subsidizing industries? Of course, by imposing higher taxes. So it is the general population and corporations who provide the means to enable the government to subsidize industries. So in the long run, taxes must go up in order to sustain subsidies, especially in this day and age. If we're going to subsidize gas, and we're going to subsidize other products, and there was also talks about education. There's a plan there. If there's all those things going to be catered for, taxes must go up. So there is another disadvantage for subsidies. So I'm coming to the end of that edition of this version of Comfort, and I hope that there is something that has calmed the local motorist or the business person down, because truth be told, there is a way that these things in the long term could circle back to our advantage, to just the basic advantage of the regular person. But since we cannot come to that place yet, and we're not doing such a good job at just assuming that things are just generally terrible right now, like we're not doing and it helps nobody anyway, it really doesn't. And the other thing has been, I found myself having this discussion with my family over Christmas, saying, this guy's been in office for 4 months. Guys, it's been 4 months. All right, yeah, I get it. There is a need to blame somebody for our own shortcomings, but 4 months? Come on. Am I right? Keep it 97.5. I'll be back on the flip side with more of, the truth.